The email from the genealogy site didn't say error, it didn't say inconclusive. It stared back at me in bright blue pixels. Sibling match, half-sister. I refreshed the page. My hand was shaking so bad I nearly dropped my phone. I looked across the room at Lexi. We shared a womb, we shared a birthday, we shared 18 years of stealing each other's clothes and 24 years of secrets. But according to the raw data in front of me, we didn't share a dad. I thought it was a glitch. I genuinely thought the company had messed up the samples. I called their support line immediately, pacing the hallway of my apartment while Lexi was scrolling through TikTok on the couch, completely oblivious. When the representative finally answered, I was aggressive. I told him their lab was a joke. I told him it was biologically impossible for fraternal twins to be half-siblings. The line went quiet for a second. Then the guy cleared his throat and said two words that changed my entire life. Heteropaternal superfecundation. He explained it like he was reading from a textbook. 2 eggs, 2 separate fertilization events during the same ovulation cycle, 2 different fathers. It's rare. 1 in a million rare, but it happens. He asked if there was any chance my mother had intercourse with 2 different men within a 5-day window roughly 24 years ago. I hung up. I felt sick. I looked at Lexi again. Really looked at her. I'm Bella. I have jet black hair, olive skin, and sharp features. I look exactly like the man who raised us. Then there's Lexi. She's the definition of a bombshell. Platinum blonde, bright blue eyes, soft features, lighter frame. We always joked that I took after Dad's Italian side and she took after Mom's Irish side. It was the running joke of our childhood. The milkman's baby, Dad would laugh, wrapping an arm around Lexi. He died 3 years ago, thinking that was a joke. I walked over to the plush sectional and sat down. Lexi looked up, flipping her hair over her shoulder. She knew something was wrong instantly. Bella, you look like you've seen a ghost, she said. I need you to look at this, I said, handing her the phone. She read it. She let out a laugh, exactly the reaction I expected. Okay, so they messed up. Why do you look like you're about to throw up? I called them, Lex. It's not a mess up. It's a thing. It's a real medical thing. Her smile dropped. What are you saying? I'm saying that Dad is my dad, but he might not be yours, or I'm not his. One of us is the daughter of a stranger. The silence in that room was heavy. It felt physical. Lexi threw the phone back at me. That's disgusting. Mom loved Dad. They were high school sweethearts. They were obsessed with each other. Don't even imply that. But the seed was planted. I could see the wheels turning in her head. The subtle differences between us that we'd ignored for 2 decades suddenly seemed like neon signs. The height difference, the eye color, the blood type. We drove to Mom's house that night in my car. We didn't call ahead. I wanted to catch her off guard. If I gave her time to prepare, she'd spin a web. She's always been good at that. Spinning stories. Little white lies, she calls them, like telling Dad the dent in the Range Rover was from a shopping cart when I watched her back into a pole. We pulled into the driveway. The lights were on. She was in the kitchen making tea. It looked so normal. Just a mom in her silk robe, waiting for the kettle to boil. We walked in the back door. She turned, smiling that perfect, practiced smile. Girls, I didn't know you were... I didn't let her finish. I slammed the printed DNA results onto the granite island. The paper slid across the counter and stopped right next to her mug. Who is he? I asked. My voice was calm, scary calm. Mom looked at the paper. Then she looked at me. Then she looked at Lexi. For a split second, I saw it. Pure, unadulterated terror. It wasn't confusion. She didn't ask what the paper was. She didn't squint to read the fine print. She knew. She knew exactly what that piece of paper meant before she even read a single word. Her face went pale, like all the blood had been drained out of her in an instant. She reached out, her hand trembling, and put her coffee mug down on top of the paper, covering the results. I don't know what this is, she whispered, but her eyes were darting around the room, looking for an exit. Some internet prank? It's not a prank, Mom, Lexi said, her voice cracking. It says we have different fathers. Who is my father? Mom let out a sharp, hysterical laugh. That's science fiction. That's not real. You girls are being ridiculous. I'm going to bed. She tried to walk past me. I stepped in her path. Dad is dead, I said. He can't get hurt by this anymore, but we are alive, and we deserve to know the truth. Who did you sleep with the week we were conceived? Mom stopped. Her whole posture changed. The sweet, confused mother act vanished. She straightened her spine, and her eyes turned cold, hard. A look I had never seen directed at me before. You need to leave, she hissed. Right now, before you ruin everything I've built. Ruin what? I challenged. Dad's gone. Not Dad, she said, her voice dropping to a whisper that sent a chill down my spine. Him. If you keep digging, he will find out. And if he finds out, none of us are safe. None of us are safe. The words hung in the sterile kitchen air like toxic smoke. Before Lexi or I could even process the threat, Mom moved. For a woman who claimed to have a bad back whenever she needed us to do chores, she moved with terrifying speed. She grabbed my arm, hard enough to bruise, and shoved us toward the back door. Go, she commanded. Her voice wasn't shaking anymore. It was steel. Forget you saw that paper. Forget everything. If you love your lives, you will never speak of this again. She slammed the heavy oak door in our faces. The deadbolt slid home with a final, metallic thud. We stood on the dark porch for 10 seconds, stunned silent. Then the porch light flicked off, plunging us into darkness. Did she just threaten us? Lexi whispered. Her perfect mascara was running down her cheeks. Bella, that sounded like a movie line. None of us are safe? Who is he? Get in the car, I said, keys already in my hand. We aren't talking here. I drove like a maniac back to my apartment. I kept checking the rearview mirror, half expecting headlights to be tailing us. Mom's reaction hadn't been shame. It hadn't been embarrassment about an affair. It was fear. Primal fear. Whoever fathered Lexi wasn't just a mistake. He was a danger. Back at my place, Lexi poured herself a glass of wine with shaking hands. We have to drop it, Bella. Did you see her eyes? She wasn't lying. Drop it? I paced the living room. Lex, you're half-sister to someone, and Mom is terrified of him. We can't drop it. We need leverage. We don't have leverage. We have a piece of paper from a website. We have Dad, I said. Lexi froze. Dad is dead. Physically, yes. But Dad was a paranoid hoarder. He kept receipts from 1990. He kept every birthday card we ever made him. I ran to my bedroom closet and pulled down the shoebox from the top shelf. Remember when he got sick? The week before he went into the hospice? Lexi nodded, wiping her eyes. He gave us that jewelry. He gave you the jewelry, I corrected. He gave me a key. I dug through the shoebox, past the old concert tickets and Polaroids, until my fingers brushed against cold metal. A small brass key. It looked like it belonged to a diary, but it was heavy. He told me, Bella, if things ever get messy, go to the bank on 4th Street, box 302. I thought he meant financial messy, like if mom spent all the life insurance. Do you think he knew? Lexi asked, her voice barely a whisper. Dad wasn't stupid, Lex. He saw the differences between us every day. The blonde hair, the blue eyes. He had to suspect. We didn't sleep. We waited until the sun came up, drove to the First National Bank on 4th Street, and stood outside until the doors unlocked at 9 a.m. The bank manager led us into the vault. It was freezing inside, walls lined with silver boxes. My heart was hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I found box 302. My hand shook as I slid the key in. It turned smoothly. I pulled the long metal drawer out. There was no money inside, no gold bars, just a single thick manila envelope and a flash drive taped to it. On the front of the envelope, in Dad's messy block letter handwriting, was one word: Bulldog. Bulldog? Lexi frowned. What does that mean? That was his nickname for Mom when they were fighting, I murmured. I ripped the envelope open. Inside was a stack of photos. Grainy, zoomed-in photos, like they were taken by a private investigator. I shuffled through them. The first few were mundane. Mom at the grocery store, Mom at the park. But the dates stamped in the corner were from 24 years ago, the year we were born. Then I hit the photo that made my blood run cold. It was Mom, looking young and terrified, sitting in a booth at a diner. Across from her was a man. He was handsome in a rough, dangerous way. Sharp suit, slicked back hair, and a scar running through his left eyebrow. He was leaning across the table, gripping Mom's wrist. But it wasn't the violence of the photo that stopped my heart. It was the man's face. I looked at the photo, then I looked at Lexi. The nose, the jawline, the shape of the eyes. Oh my God, Lexi breathed. She grabbed the photo from my hand, bringing it closer to her face. It was like looking in a gender-swapped mirror. That's him, that's my father. Flip it over, I said. She turned the photo over. On the back, Dad had written a name and a date. Dante Vanchetti, October 12. Lexi dropped the photo. Vanchetti? Why does that sound familiar? Because, I said, feeling the room spin, Dante Vanchetti isn't just some guy, Lex. He's the head of the Vanchetti crime family. He's currently serving 3 life sentences in Supermax for racketeering and murder. I grabbed the flash drive. Dad knew the whole time that your father was a mob boss. Suddenly, my phone buzzed in my pocket. A text. I pulled it out. It was from a number I didn't recognize. Put the box back. Walk out of the bank. If you check that flash drive, I can't protect you anymore. I looked up at the security camera in the corner of the vault. The red light was blinking. Bella, Lexi whimpered, seeing the text. Who is watching us? Who is watching us? Lexi whimpered, her blue eyes wide and darting around the steel vault. I don't care, I whispered back. I made a split-second decision. I didn't put the box back. I shoved the silver flash drive down the front of my shirt and grabbed Lexi's trembling hand. Walk, fast. Don't look at the cameras. Look at the floor. We power walked out of the vault. The bank manager smiled at us as we passed his desk. Everything in order, ladies? Perfect, thanks, I lied, my voice tight. I practically dragged Lexi through the revolving doors and out into the blinding morning sun. Get in the car, now. I unlocked my sedan and we dove in. I locked the doors instantly. My hands were shaking so bad it took me 2 tries to get the key in the ignition. I didn't drive home. Home was the first place they would look. I merged onto the highway, weaving through traffic, checking my rearview mirror every 3 seconds. Bella, slow down. Lexi gripped the dashboard, her knuckles white. Where are we going? Somewhere public, I said. Check your phone. Did they text again? No, Lexi said, staring at her screen. Bella, that text, it said, I can't protect you anymore. That sounds like Mom. If it was Mom, she would have called. That was a warning. I pulled into the parking lot of a massive shopping mall 3 towns over. I parked between 2 minivans, hidden from the main road. I killed the engine. The silence in the car was deafening. Laptop, I said. I grabbed my laptop bag from the back seat. I booted it up, my heart pounding a rhythm against my ribs. I plugged in the flash drive. A single folder popped up. It was labeled, For My Girls. I clicked it. A video file opened. It was Dad. He looked terrible. It must have been filmed right near the end. He was sitting in his recliner, an oxygen tube in his nose, looking pale and gaunt, but his eyes were sharp. Lexi let out a choked sob when she saw him. Daddy, shh, I hissed. I turned the volume up. Bella, Lexi, Dad's voice rasped through the car speakers. If you're watching this, I'm gone, and you found out about Dante. He coughed, taking a moment to breathe. Your mother isn't a bad person. She made a mistake 24 years ago. She got involved with Vanchetti before she knew who he really was. When she tried to leave him, she came back to me. We thought it was over. Dad leaned closer to the camera. Then she got pregnant with twins. The doctors told us about the double conception. It was a miracle and a curse. We knew one was mine and one was his. We knew if Dante found out he had a daughter, he would take her, or worse, he'd use her. Lexi's hand found mine. She squeezed it so hard it hurt. So we made a pact, Dad continued. We paid the doctor to falsify the birth records. As far as Dante Vanchetti knows, his child died in childbirth. He thinks I raised only my biological daughter. He doesn't know Lexi exists. The color drained from Lexi's face. He thinks I'm dead. This flash drive, Dad said, holding up a duplicate of the one we had plugged in, contains the ledger sheets your mother stole from him the night she left. It's the evidence that put him away for life. It's your insurance policy. As long as that drive is hidden, you are safe. But if you are watching this, it means the secret is out. The video cut to black. We sat in silence for a long moment. The AC hummed. I'm not just a bastard, Lexi whispered, staring out the window. I'm a ghost. I'm the daughter of a monster, and I'm supposed to be dead. We have the ledger, I said, my mind racing. screaming. That's why Mom was terrified. Vanchetti is in prison, but his crew is still out there. If they know you're alive, they can use you to get to Mom, or they can use you to get the ledger back. We have to go to the police, Lexi said. No, I snapped. Vanchetti owns half the precinct. Dad wouldn't have hidden this in a bank if we could just call 911. Suddenly, a shadow fell over the windshield. I looked up. A blacked-out SUV had pulled up directly in front of us, blocking us into the parking spot. Bella! Lexi's voice trembled. I threw the car into reverse. Crunch. Another SUV had pulled up silently behind us. We were boxed in. My phone buzzed again. The same unknown number. I told you to put it back. Lock the doors! I screamed, jamming the lock button even though they were already locked. The doors of the front SUV opened. Two men stepped out. They weren't wearing masks. They were wearing expensive suits. One of them walked calmly toward my window. He tapped on the glass with a heavy gold ring. I looked at his face. He had a scar running through his left eyebrow. He looked exactly like the photo in the bank box. He looked exactly like the man serving 3 life sentences. He looked exactly like Lexi. Open the door, Bella, the man said. His voice was muffled by the glass, but I heard it clearly. I just want to meet my daughter. That's impossible, Lexi screamed, scrambling into the backseat away from him. He's in prison! Dad said he's in prison! I looked at the man's eyes. They were cold, blue ice. Drive! Lexi screamed. Bella, drive! I slammed my foot on the gas, aiming for the small gap between the SUV and a concrete pillar. The car surged forward, metal screeching against metal, sparks flying past the window as I scraped the side of the SUV. The man didn't jump out of the way. He just watched us, smiling a calm, terrifying smile as my side mirror shattered against his hip. We broke free, tires squealing as I drifted around the corner of the garage, racing toward the exit ramp. He's out! Lexi was hyperventilating in the back seat. How is he out? I don't know, I yelled, swerving to avoid a minivan. But we can't go home, we can't go to Mom's, we have to go off the grid. I hit the exit ramp doing 60. I checked the mirror. The 2 black SUVs were right behind us, moving in perfect formation, like sharks smelling blood in the water. And then, my dashboard lit up. The check engine light flashed. The steering wheel locked up. The brakes went stiff. What's happening? Lexi screamed. The car! I stomped on the useless brake pedal. They hacked the car! I can't stop! We were hurtling toward the main intersection and the light was turning red. The red light was 50 feet away. Cross traffic was blurring past at 40 miles an hour. Bella, do something! Lexi screamed, curling into a ball in the passenger seat. I didn't think. I reacted. I grabbed the mechanical handbrake in the center console, thank God for old cars, and yanked it up with both hands, screaming as I felt the cable snap tight. The back tires locked. The car went sideways. We spun 180 degrees, screeching across the asphalt. The world was a blur of smoke and burning rubber. We slammed backward into a street lamp with a bone-jarring crunch. The airbags didn't deploy. The engine died instantly. For a second, there was silence. Then, the sound of breaking glass. Out! I yelled, unbuckling my belt. Lexi, get out now! I kicked my door open. It was jammed, but adrenaline is a hell of a drug. I forced it. We tumbled out onto the sidewalk just as the 2 black SUVs screeched to a halt 10 yards away. Men were pouring out of them, suit jackets flapping, guns drawn. Subway! I pointed to the station entrance half a block down. Run! We sprinted. My ribs felt cracked and Lexi was limping, one of her heels broken off, but we ran like we were being hunted. Because we were. We threw ourselves down the stairs of the 4th Street station, vaulting the turnstiles just as a train was pulling in. Hold the doors! I screamed at a businessman. He looked up, startled, and stuck his briefcase in the gap. We dove into the car. The doors hissed shut behind us. As the train jerked forward, I looked out the dirty window. Through the glass, I saw him, the man with the scar. He was standing on the platform, calm as death, watching us pull away. He didn't run, he didn't shoot, he just tapped his earpiece. We rode the train for 6 stops. We switched lines, then we switched again. We didn't speak. We just huddled together in the corner of the car, shaking. We got off in a bad part of town, the kind of place where people don't ask questions. We found a grimy motel with a neon sign that buzzed like an angry hornet. I paid cash for a room. Once the door was bolted, Lexi collapsed on the bed. She looked wrecked. Her platinum hair was matted with sweat, her designer jeans torn. He was there, she whispered, staring at the ceiling. Bella, he looked just like me. It was like looking at a male version of myself. How is he out? You said 3 life sentences. I'm checking, I said. I pulled the laptop out of my bag. It was cracked, but the screen flickered to life. I connected to the motel's spotty Wi-Fi and typed Dante Vanchetti into the news search. My stomach dropped through the floor. Breaking news. Mob boss. Dante Vanchetti released on compassionate grounds. The article was dated 2 days ago. Compassionate grounds? Lexi sat up, wiping mascara from her cheeks. For what? Being too evil? I read the next paragraph. I felt the blood drain from my face. Vanchetti, 55, was granted immediate release by a federal judge due to a terminal diagnosis of acute myeloid leukemia. Doctors say he has less than 3 weeks to live without a bone marrow transplant from a rare genetic match. I stopped reading. I looked at Lexi. Oh my God, I whispered. What? Lexi grabbed the laptop. She read the words. She froze. He doesn't want to meet me, Lexi said, her voice trembling with a new kind of horror. He doesn't want a daughter. He doesn't want a reunion. He wants a harvest, I finished for her. He needs a donor, a genetic match, and since his only known child, me, isn't his biological daughter, he was going to die. I stood up and started pacing the small, dirty room. It all made sense. The timing, the aggression, the car hack. He found out, I said. Somehow he found out the truth about the twins. Maybe a nurse talked, maybe he hacked the DNA site, but he knows you exist, and he knows you're his only chance at survival. He's going to kill me, Lexi said. He's going to strap me to a table and take my marrow until there's nothing left. No, I said. He's not. I grabbed the flash drive, the insurance policy Dad had left us. Dad said this drive has the ledger, the evidence that put him away, but Vanchetti is already out. The law can't hurt him anymore. He's dying anyway. So we have nothing, Lexi cried. We have no leverage. Yes, we do, I said. A cold, dark plan was forming in my mind. We have the one thing he needs more than money, more more than power. I looked at Lexi. We have his life. What are you thinking, Bella? Lexi asked, backing away from me. You have that look. The look you get before you do something crazy. He's dying, Lexi. He's desperate. Desperate men make mistakes. I picked up my phone. I dialed the number that had texted me earlier. The number that warned us in the bank. Who are you calling? Lexi hissed. I'm calling Mom, I said, but not to ask for help. The line rang once. Then it clicked open. Bella? Mom's voice was a wreck. She was crying. Bella, where are you? They're at the house. They're tearing everything apart. They said if I don't give them Lexi, they'll kill me. Listen to me very carefully, Mom, I said, my voice steady. Put him on the phone. Who? Dante, I said. I know he's there. Put him on. There was a pause. Then a shuffling sound. A deep, smooth voice came on the line. The voice of the man from the subway platform. Hello, Bella? Dante said. He sounded polite, like a favorite uncle. You're a hard young woman to catch. You drive just like your father. And you look just like your daughter. I shot back. Cut the crap, Dante. I saw the news. You're rotting from the inside out. He laughed, a dry, raspy sound. I see you're smart. Yes, I'm on a timeline. And frankly, I'm losing patience. Bring me Lexi. I'll make sure you and your mother are taken care of. $1 million each. New identities. You walk away. And what happens to Lexi? I asked. She helps her father, he said. Family helps family. I looked at Lexi. She was shaking her head no, tears streaming down her face. Okay, I said. Lexi gasped. Okay, I repeated. We'll meet you, but not at the house, and not on your terms. Name the place, Dante said. But be quick, Bella. My patience is thinner than my blood. The old shipyard, I said. Pier 4, midnight, alone. If I see one SUV, one guard, or one gun, Lexi disappears forever and you die in a hospital bed alone. I hung up. Lexi was staring at me like I was a monster. You're giving me to him? No, I said, grabbing the keys to the rental car we hadn't rented yet. I'm setting a trap. We're going to finish what Dad started. I looked her dead in the eye. Tonight, we aren't running. Tonight, we go to war. The wind off the harbor smelled like salt and rust. Pier 4 was a graveyard of shipping containers and rusted cranes, illuminated only by the distant glow of the city. I parked the car in the shadows behind a stack of crates. I looked at Lexi. She had stopped crying. She had cut her platinum hair to her shoulders in the motel bathroom with a pair of rusty scissors. She didn't look like a victim anymore. She looked like a weapon. Are you ready? I asked. Lexi touched the small device taped to her chest, hidden under her jacket. Let's bury him. We walked out into the open. The wind whipped our clothes. At the end of the pier, a single black sedan was waiting. The headlights cut through the darkness, blinding us. Dante Vanchetti was leaning against the hood. He looked worse than he had in the photos. His skin was gray, his suit hung loosely on his frame, and he was coughing into a handkerchief, but the gun in his hand was steady. And next to him, on her knees, was Mom. She was bruised, shivering in the cold, a piece of duct tape over her mouth. You're late, Dante called out. His voice was a wet rasp. I was about to start sending pieces of your mother to you. We're here, I shouted, stopping 20 feet away. Let her go. Dante laughed. He gestured with the gun. The deal was simple, Bella. You give me the girl, I give you the mother. A life for a life. He looked at Lexi. His eyes were hungry, not with love, but with greed. He was looking at her like a starving man looks at a steak. Come here, sweetie. Daddy's waiting. Lexi stepped forward. I grabbed her arm, playing my part. No, you promised you wouldn't hurt her. I promised nothing. Dante snapped, his patience snapping. He pointed the gun directly at my head. She is my blood. She belongs to me. Now send her over, or I put a bullet in you and take her anyway. Why? I screamed, desperate to keep him talking. Why do you need her? You have money. You have power. I have leukemia. Dante roared, his composure cracking. I have millions of dollars and I'm rotting from the inside out. My marrow is turning to sludge. She is the only match. I don't care about being a father. I don't care about family. I need her bone marrow, and I will drain every drop of it if I have to. The confession echoed across the empty pier. So she's just a harvest to you? I asked, my voice dropping to a dangerous calm. Just spare parts? She is an asset, Dante spat, just like her mother was, just like you are. Now move. He cocked the hammer of the gun. Lexi stepped away from me. She walked toward him. 10 feet, 5 feet. Dante smiled, a cruel, victorious smile. He reached out with his free hand to grab her. Lexi stopped. She looked him dead in the eye. You don't look like me, she said. Her voice was ice cold. Dante frowned. What? Bella looks like Dad, Lexi said. I look like Mom, but you look like a corpse. Dante's face twisted in rage. He reached for her, and then the night exploded. Floodlights, dozens of them, slammed on from the tops of the shipping containers surrounding us. The pier was instantly bathed in blinding white light. Federal agents, drop the weapon! The voice boomed from a loudspeaker. Red and blue strobe lights erupted from behind the crates. Helicopters roared overhead, their downdraft whipping the water into a frenzy. Dante spun around, blinded, waving his gun wildly. It's a trap, you little witch! He grabbed Mom by the hair, pulling her up as a human shield. Back off, or she dies. It's over, Dante, I yelled, stepping forward. Look at your phone. Dante hesitated. The sirens were deafening. He glanced down at the phone resting on the hood of his car. The screen was lit up. It was a live stream. We didn't just call the police, I shouted over the noise of the chopper. We're live, Dante. On Instagram, on YouTube, on everything. 50,000 people just watched you confess to kidnapping, extortion, and conspiracy to commit murder. You just violated every single term of your compassionate release. Dante looked at the phone. Then he looked at Lexi. Lexi ripped the tape off her chest, revealing the smartphone strapped there, camera lens facing out. Compassionate release is for dying men who aren't a threat, Lexi yelled. You just proved you're a monster. They aren't sending you to a hospital, Dante. They're sending you back to Supermax to die in a cage. Dante's face went white. He knew it was true. He looked at the circling feds. He looked at Mom. He realized he had no leverage. The world had seen him. His shoulders slumped. The gun clattered to the concrete. Within seconds, a SWAT team swarmed him. They tackled him to the ground, zip-tying his hands behind his back. He was screaming, spitting, cursing us as they dragged him away toward an armored truck. Mom collapsed into my arms, sobbing. I held her tight, but my eyes were on Lexi. She was standing over Dante as they shoved him into the van. She watched her biological father, the man who created her, get locked away forever. She didn't look sad. She looked free. 2 weeks later, we were sitting on my balcony, drinking cheap wine. The news was playing in the background. Dante Vanchetti dead at 55. Died in federal custody after request for private medical transfer was denied. He died alone, just like we promised. Mom was staying with her sister in Florida for a while. She needed time. We all did. The truth about the affair, the secrets, the bulldog nickname, it was a lot to process. Mom wasn't perfect. She was messy and scared, and she had lied to us our whole lives, but she did it to keep us alive. I looked at Lexi. She was scrolling through the comments on our storytime video. It had 3 million views. Hey, I said, kicking her foot. You okay? Lexi looked up. She smiled. It was a real smile this time. You know, she said, swirling her wine. The DNA test was right. We do have different fathers. Yeah, I said. Biologically, it's a freak of nature. But, Lexi said, reaching over to grab my hand, we have the same dad. The guy who raised us. The guy who left us the key. The guy who loved us both enough to lie to a mob boss for 20 years. I squeezed her hand back. Yeah, we do. She clinked her glass against mine. To Dad, she said. To Dad, I replied. We might have different blood running through our veins. We might be a medical anomaly that happens once in a million years. But looking at her, I knew one thing for sure. We were sisters, and God help anyone who tried to mess with us ever again.